salinity, how much salt is in the seawater. Um, this can be disrupted as the climate warms, and changes in these patterns and influx of fresh water into the oceans from melting ice can change the salinity, or the amount of salt in the water, and this can disrupt the currents, which could have large effects on the climate. And another thing, and we're also already seeing this, is this severe weather. Warming oceans give more warm energy to things like hurricanes and tropical cyclones, so they'll last longer and be more powerful. Another effect is being cloudier, rainier and cloudier, depending on where you live. While scientists expect a warmer world would be a cloudier one, they are not yet certain how the increased cloudiness will feed back into the climate system. They're still doing a lot of models on that. And then, of course, there's changes to life in the carbon cycle. Will alter many aspects of biological systems and the global carbon cycle. So the natural ranges of many types of plants and animals, wild and domesticated. Growing seasons will change in their length, and this will affect our food, as well as our animals and our ability to survive on this planet. And then there's also something here in this report. It's a phrase called climate commitment. Climate commitment basically means that there's a certain amount of global warming, an estimated 0.5%, 5 degrees Celsius, that we are committed to because of the amount of gases that are already present in the atmosphere. So our past greenhouse gas emissions have committed us to these certain amounts of warming because they leave the atmosphere very, very slowly. So that means that we are going to see these things happening no matter what we do, but we can and will find ways to mitigate such things. So if you live in a climate that is used to being very cold, you may find that climate changing to warmer. Also, though, if you live in a climate that is typically warm, you may find that temperatures are getting colder. That is a result of the rising temperature of the atmosphere. It's important to remember, so you don't get fooled, that when we talk about warming, it doesn't mean that we're not talking about the temperature. We're not talking about your, daily weather being warm. They're talking about the atmosphere warming. They're talking about the oceans warming, and that affects the climate differently in different places. So, what might happen? As a result of all these changes? Well, some predictions are there'll be less drinkable, usable water. So there could be, well, I don't want to say wars, but there could be a lot of competition for fresh water as our sources of fresh water begin to disappear. And as mountain glaciers, which give us the fresh water that we need, begin to recede and vanish, it will cause our rivers to shrink, or some can dry up. That will affect our farming capacity. That would affect our access to drinkable water, and it could cause famine, which could lead to wars. There could also be food wars. Because if the farming industry is affected, if our animals are affected, that affects our access and the amount of food that we will have available. There will be geopolitics, probably. And it could be quite intense conflicts over things like food and water. So what is the good news? Is there any good news? Yeah. Well, our technology is moving in the direction of finding ways to clean the atmosphere of the carbon that is causing the environment to warm up. And so what we can expect to happen is increases in this technology that will help us to, in a way, recreate or reinvent the environment in a way. So those are the things to hope for. We can also hope that the nations and companies in this country that are already committed to bringing down their levels of CO2 and so forth continue to do so. And I think they will. And more than ever, we've seen a strong commitment from certain companies and most of the European countries that were in the Paris Accord that we unfortunately abruptly left. But after that occurred, states like California and companies in this country re-upped their commitment to seeing this reduction in emissions. So there is very, very good reasons to be hopeful. We've got technology, we've got a vast amount of wealth that can and I believe will be funneled towards this. Mainly because it will have to be. So, okay, now, next week we'll talk about the future of healthcare. We're going to live in a time when people will be able to relieve themselves of physical injuries, disabilities, and erase things like mental illness. So that's quite hopeful. Maybe a little more hopeful than the environment situation seems to be at this point. Now, okay, let's go to, before we have to wrap up the show, let's go to our wellness tips for your wellness resolutions, whatever they may be. So let's talk about 3 good things you can think about bringing into your life that will help you with your mood. So if you want to feel happier, if you want to improve your mood, one way to do it is to focus on the positive experiences in your life. So you can do this by doing what they are calling the 3 good things intervention. So each day, for at least 1 week, write down 3 things that went well that particular day and why. That begins to focus you a bit on the positive and increase your ability to notice the things going on in your life and how much of the things going right in your life are right there for you, because we do tend to focus on things when they go wrong. This can actually lift your mood. Research has shown just doing that 1 week can lift your happiness level for a full 6 months. And if it feels good, which it should, well, you'll want to continue doing it. And if you continue doing it, well, then you're going to be feeling a lot better, have a much better mood, and a much better look on life, if you will. Now, maybe you want to give up some foods for your New Year's resolution to maybe lose weight. One of the best things that you can do is give up sweetened drinks, sodas, and the like. Sugar is more of a health problem than fat. A lot of people think fat is what leads to obesity or other health problems. But the research shows that is not true. It's sugar rather than the saturated fat. That's the real culprit in obesity and rates of cardiovascular disease as well. So those sugared, sweetened drinks that you have a lot of sugar in them. So look to do that. Look to increase healthy fats in your life, like extra virgin olive oil, which I've come to love. You can put it on anything and everything. Salads, you can cook with it. It's got amazing health benefits, and it tastes awesome too, as far as I'm concerned. So those are 2 things you might want to think about doing for your New Year's resolutions. And because they are sort of happy things and they taste good, they can be doable. The hardest one probably would be if you're really addicted to these sugary drinks. That will be a task. That will be something that you'll have to commit to a long-term strategy for.